I think today we got to talk about teenagers, because I've noticed in your practice you're seeing a lot more kids.
Have you ever noticed that I love teenagers?
I have noticed. So if you have teenagers you don't love, send them to Brenda.
Teenagers?
I wish I knew you when my kids were younger, because I think we could have bypassed a lot of pain and misery.
I've always loved kids, but teenagers have a tender place because they sit there and they're like, yeah. And then they just open up and they're so sweet. And the coolest thing was when I work with them, generally I'll take them into an energy session where they don't need to talk. Mm-hmm. And they'll say, I get so many cute responses. They'll say, Brenda, this is the weirdest therapy I've ever done, but I feel so good and I don't have to talk. Because a lot of us, I never did talk therapy. I'm not against it.
Yeah.
But I don't want to talk about what I went through. I wish someone could just beam it away, zap it away, right? Layer by layer. And it's lovely.
It's funny, I spent most of my career working with teenagers, so I couldn't wait to have my own. But then that's a very different thing. Having your own and going through their stuff with them is really hard. And when you see them sad and when you see them angry, like you just wish you could do something to help.
Yeah.
And that's what you're doing now. I think a lot of parents are wondering, like, how can I help my kid? I don't want them on medicine. I don't want them popping pills. I don't want them, I don't have time to take them to therapy once a week. Yeah. I can see that they're not happy. They're destroying their life in different ways. How can I help them?
Do you know, I fell into energy work by accident. It was with my 4-year-old son who is like behavioral at the time. And he was only behavioral because these kids that are behavioral in my aspects, it's because they're more sensitive and they're being bombarded by the energy and they just don't know how to deal with it. So he was like, the teachers wanted to drug him up and I was personally against it. Mm-hmm. So I prayed and then I fell into the loving arms of somebody who recommended beam therapy for my son. And I drove like 2.5 hours to take him to some energy worker's house who did beam therapy. And I'm just like, what the heck's happening here? But I can tell you the effect of it. Mm-hmm. He was a kid that couldn't focus, was impossible for teachers. After 3 sessions of beam therapy, they said, what have you done to him? I'd say a normal kid's here and he was up here. He came to about here.
Wow.
He's super sensitive. He's beautiful and loving. And we all know that about our kids. But sometimes they become a little behavioral because of the energies. Mm-hmm. Now, kids nowadays are becoming more empathic. They are coming in with upgrades. So you're going to notice a lot of these kids are super sensitive. They become withdrawn easier. They can become more influenced easier. They can be hurt easier. But they have a beautifulness about them.
It's kind of sad because they're growing up in a harder world, I feel, than when we were growing up. I feel the world was like blissful compared to now. So you have these more sensitive children growing up in a harder, harsher place where they can have access to ugliness in the palm of their hand.
Yeah. So there's this balance, right? They actually have come in kind of more highly evolved than us. They're waiting for the new earth to come in. They're waiting for that high vibration to kick in. And right now we're in the turmoil of it, right? So I work with a lot of kids and I can speak their language. I can explain the energy work in a way they understand. And I always say, are you good to go with this? And even the wording I use is things they can understand.
Of course.
But in essence, what they're doing is releasing the trauma. Sometimes it's being bullied or being told that they're not good enough from friends. That hurts so much. And you know how it is with kids. It's amplified, but in this new energy, the sadness is amplified even more. So we're seeing more depressed children, more children on, antidepressants, more children turning to alcohol and marijuana. They're just trying to cope. So I am very non-judgmental, and when they tell me things, it's not. I don't say go off your stuff cold turkey, because that's their coping.
Yeah, well, and that's between them and their doctor.
Exactly.
So we would never say something like that.
Yeah.
But
even with alcohol, we still say, "Oh, can I see you?" Like, you have some kids that are drinking alcohol, and that's how they're coping. And it's not, you don't go off anything, because especially medications, that's always at the advice of your doctor. But as people heal and they start to feel more like themselves, they stop going into the drinking. They slowly get off their meds with the doctors. They start to smile again and start to feel. Like, these antidepressants just numb them. They sit there numb. Yeah. It's so
surprised
sad.
With the kids that you've helped that I know, like after 1 or 2 sessions, they're done. How come I'm coming for like 10 and 20? I don't feel nothing. I feel nothing. Apparently I'm better than I was last year. But these kids come, and 1 or 2 sessions later, it's like they're happy kids again.
Well, first off, they're younger. So their brain, it depends on what age we're looking at. Some of them snap out this quick because their brain waves are more accepting of the release. They don't fight it. The resistance isn't there. They've come in with upgrades for the new earth, so their energy is more allowing of energy work. So they allow the crap to leave faster. All right? So that's why a kid that's depressed is actually now singing in the house. Or someone who's locked up in the room is actually coming out and engaging and eating. Now sometimes, although I love working with teenagers, I'll work with 20-year-olds and 30-year-olds. And because they've been in that for longer, they started at age 15, they're now 25, they have 10 years of that. It's rolling back. Some kids, the parents are on them, and they notice the kid's depressed within like 3 months, and they have them come in. Well, they've only been in it for 3 months, so usually 1 session's a reset, a reboot, and they're like, wow, I feel more like myself again.
Yeah.
Right? Every child is unique. Every person is unique. Their situations are unique. I can't say, it's going to be okay in 1 session. Sometimes we have these miracle things where it's like that quick.
Well, sometimes it's normal. Like when I think back to working with teenagers, like there's so many I would have sent you if I had known. Like I often wished that I had somewhere to send these kids, because oftentimes our system isn't built to help young people. And so it was just such a frustrating thing. Like, what do you do with kids that are struggling? I wish I had known that I had somebody like you to send them to. But sometimes it's just kids growing up, and you know how weird they get in puberty and hormones. And it's like, how do you tell the difference between like, this is normal adolescence?
Usually you can tell by the change in behavior how fast it is, what they're talking about. We've already spoken about this. What they're saying. Are they using words that aren't really theirs? Are they drawing pictures that are pretty satanic and dark? What are they doing? Now, I'm going to tell you something. A personal case. Somebody said, no, this person's fine. This child is fine. Look, she's drawing cute little pictures of rainbows and bunnies. Even if a child is drawing something happy, you know what? Intuitively, I can feel there's some stuff going on in the field that maybe a trained professional can't see, but someone who intuitively can feel it knows there's something underlying, but this child just knows how to cope.
Because maybe she's a people pleaser and wants to draw something to make you happy.
Exactly. So we have to be very in tune to our children, non-judgmental, especially when kids come up to us say, hey, Mom, I got to tell you something. This happened and then that happened. And you want to go, what? No. They're speaking to you. Listen to them. If they tell you, I'm not happy when someone says they're taking drugs, but it's happening. But don't freak, because they're telling you. So why are they telling you? There is something about them asking for help, right?
Yeah.
So you don't want to scold them. You say, hey, if you had to do this, why are you feeling this way? Let's get you some help. I wish I could go into the school system and say, hey, I'm available. But because I'm in holistic healing, it's not something that a teacher can refer, someone like me. It's more of a parent who's had children go through something, snap out of it through some energy work and realize this helped them, and then they tell another mother.
Yeah.
right? So it's a fine line. If I see, like, sometimes I see things out in public and I just want to go tell the mom or dad, like, your child could benefit so much from this. But I don't go into people's personal space. You know?
No, I just think it's a cool thing to know that there's more tools that you can add to your toolbox if you're struggling with your kids. If you know of kids that are in trouble, that are challenged, you can go to a doctor. You know that there's programs out there in your community, but now there's also holistic healing, energy healing that might be helpful for your kid.
Yeah. A lot of kids, like, because they're so open, they'll have these really cool experiences. They'll see colors. They feel the love of angels come in. And they'll say, I don't know what that was, but I feel so peaceful and it was so cool.
Well, what's a telling sign for me is because the kids want to come back.
Oh, yeah.
They're like, when's my next appointment? Like, I want to come back,
Yeah, I always go, like, I always have a great honor when a child says to their parent, I want to go see Brenda again.
Yeah.
And whether it's online or it's by video. Actually, I have quite a little fan club of teenagers that love the work. It's interesting because my own kids, who are now older, will say, hey, Mom, I need one of your sessions. I'm feeling off. But they've had energy work for many years. And I've been blessed. When I see my kids off, I was able to shift them out energetically. But what I do my best to empower them so they can learn to do the work and take care of your own field, right?
Yeah, we're back to do the work.
Yeah. I'm always like, do the work. Because I do the work every day. I couldn't do what I do without keeping myself very clear.
Yeah, well, I'm glad we shared this one for parents because I know how hard it is being a parent of kids that are struggling. And so I think that as something to add to your toolbox, consider energy healing, holistic healing by somebody that you are referred to that you know of, because there are a lot of...
With everything, with any profession, there's the good and the not so good and the not good. Yeah. So you want to make sure you're dealing with someone who is working with pure divine light. Because you don't want to put your kids or anyone else in harm's way. Right? Absolutely.
Exactly.
Right. But you know what I have, and we'll end with this. I have parents who've heard about me who come in for a session for themselves first. And I think this is brilliant because they said, you know why I came in today? I want to test you out because I was told to bring my kid to you and I want to test you out first. And I feel so clear and reconnected. I now trust my child to come see you.
That's awesome because then the kid can go home and they have a shared experience. Yeah. And they can talk about it together. I love that.
And when I deal with kids, the parents are more than welcome, actually encouraged to stay in the room or just outside. They can see what we're doing. There comes a time where the kids go, Mom, I'm fine, leave me alone. But you're always welcome because we want to make sure the child is feeling comfortable. And actually in one or two cases, I actually invited the parent to have the beam therapy with the child. So the child didn't feel so weird and they both healed at the same time. So there's so many different ways, intuitively I just kind of get, they would be good if they did it together. And they both enjoyed the experience together. And now that team comes in, the mom and son come in together for sessions.
So healing one person at a time.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay, everyone. That's it for today. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you for joining us.
If you have any questions or comments, visit us at sobrilliant.ca.
Sending you lots of love and light. Until next time.